Now that we've finished our exercises, let's put them back to back to back to back and create a video that shows all of them in sequence. So we actually have all, or we should have all of the exercises listed here as separate compositions in your After Effects file. If you have different After Effects files with different compositions in them, you should be able to file, import, import file, and import the After Effects files into each other and combine them together, and the composition should show up on the left side. So, assuming that works, we'll go to Composition, New Composition, and we're going to call this Exercises Combined. And we know that this is going to be quite long, so I'm going to try for 1 minute and see if, I know it looks like an hour, but that's 1 minute, 0 seconds, 0 frames. And we'll see if that's long enough, and if not, it's easy to change it, so I'm going to hit OK. And now we have a composition that is empty, and we're going to take each exercise. You can select from the top or the bottom, doesn't matter which. I'm going to drag them in here, place them right in the center, and here they are. From the top to the bottom, exercises 1 through 14. So now each one thing that might be notably different, besides seeing all of them on top of each other like this, and that's because none of these have backgrounds. If you did want them to have backgrounds, you could double click, go inside, and do Layer, New, Shape Layer. I'm sorry, not Shape Layer, Solid. And you can choose what color you want it to be. So let's say we choose like a light gray or like a slight beige. We'll hit OK. And you just want to make sure to put that at the bottom. But in this case, it would probably work better if it was something darker than beige, especially with the text. Let's change solid settings and let's make it dark instead. There we go. Hit OK. So if you want to have backgrounds, and then if we were to go into the exercises combined, you no longer see the ones behind it because this one now has a background. So you could do that with each of them if you wanted to. It's not going to matter hugely in terms of seeing them through each other, because we're going to separate them so they happen back to back to back to back and not all at the same time. Something you may also notice as well is that the compositions are colored brown instead of red or blue, and they do not take up the entire 1 minute composition because these are time-based. The still images would just be as long as the composition by default, but these are not still images. These are compositions with set times to them. 10 seconds, 5 seconds, 7 seconds. So they all have set lengths. And that can be changed, but in order to change it, we'd have to go inside the compositions and change them. But there's really no need to do that unless there's any that are longer than they necessarily need to be, and I don't recall if any of them need to be any shorter than they are. If they do, we can also check it inside the combined file and then go inside. So if you want to put them back to back to back to back to back, we could left mouse down and drag. We could do that. We absolutely could. We'd have to be a little careful about making sure that they don't overlap or have a gap, like this one does. But we could do that. But there's actually a much easier way that doesn't require you to be so painstaking with multiple frames like this. Especially knowing that we want them to be literally back to back to back to back. So select the first one that you want to be in the sequence. In this case, we want exercise 1 to be the first one to show up and have them all be in numerical order. So we're going to select on the layer that is exercise 1. It wouldn't matter if it was the top layer or the bottom layer, but order does matter. So the fact this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that it's in order, that's very important. Whether it was from top to bottom or bottom to top, as long as it's in an order, that's fine. So since exercise 1 is at the top and the last exercise, 14, is at the bottom, we're going to left mouse click on exercise 1's little bar, and I'm going to hold down shift, and if you need to scroll up and down the layers, if you can't see them all, you can use this little scroll bar on the right, or you can roll your mouse. So I'm rolling the mouse arrow to do this. So left mouse click, hold down shift, left mouse click the last one in the sequence, number 14, then right mouse click and go to Keyframe Assistant, Sequence Layers. We're going to have overlap not active because we don't want the layers to overlap at all. I'm going to hit OK, and now they're back to back to back. Did I give it enough time? I did not give it enough time. See, 14's not here, 14's gone, and 13 cuts off early. So 1 minute wasn't long enough. Let's try 1 minute and 20 seconds. That's probably too long. Oh, not too long by much. So it ends here. So let's move our time indicator. Let's see, for me it is at 1:16:17. Yours it may be different. So I'm going to end this at 1:16:17. Hit OK. There we go. So now it runs to the end. So now let's play it through and make sure everything plays properly. There we go. There's exercise 1, 2, 3. Wouldn't hurt to go back and check and try to get these texts to line up. Okay, so that one lingers a little longer than it needs to. This one does. Okay, so let's go inside. And let's see. So we could probably stop it at about 5:12 or about 5:06 or so. So I could shorten the composition right in here, and that will shorten it in here. Or I could just shorten it like this. So the composition length remains the same, but now I'm only showing some of it. And then I could click the rest. Left mouse click one, shift click the rest, the one on the bottom. There we go, and move them over. And then I'll see if I need to cut this down. Let's watch the rest of them and see if any others need to be shortened. And let's make sure. There we go. And there's our bouncing ball in place, followed by the ball bouncing across the stage. There's our pendulum attached to a rectangle. There's our ball on a ramp. Okay, that paused for a second. That could be a rendering issue. Okay, it looks fine. Sometimes if it's playing while it's rendering, you'll get jolted, stuff like that. So it's just let it play once and then try it again, see if it looks okay. And that was the moving hold, and this one's the pulsing or scaling. This one's scaling from an angle or from the side. There's our clock. And there's our finale. Okay. And there we go. And actually, we'd probably end this a little early too. When's the stop? Okay. So it really could afford it. Whoops, don't want to do that. It was doing it to all of them because I had a bunch selected at once. So this is at 1:11:20. Composition settings 1:11:20. I'm going to hit OK. And now we're good. We're ready to export. And you can make any changes that you want to make, put in nice backgrounds, adjust the text so they line up a little bit better. So you have this one and this one. Or your continuous loop and spatial interpolation. Let's grab this. Cut. Exercise 2. Paste. And let's just move this over so they're right on top of each other. Okay, X, exercise 3, Command V for paste. Command X is how I took it away. Okay, and now let's see what it looks like combined. There, that looks better. Okay, so we have those, this one, this one. Let's go in here and we can name this one Overshoot and Settle. And we can go through and name each one. And what I was doing was I had gone into one of the compositions, select the text, Command C, and then I can go into another composition and Command V, and they'll be in the same place. And that way we don't have the text jumping around. And then we can label each one of these. This one we can call it maybe curved path. And was this one called? Spatial interpolation angular. Spatial interpolation curved. So you can name each one if you want to give it the same background for each one. So we can go into exercise 1. We can grab the solid. You also can find the solid inside here, the dark gray solid. You can go in here. Command V covers everything, but we can left mouse down and drag it underneath. Command V, drag it underneath. Command V, drag it underneath. Another option, if you don't want to do this to every single one, you could also go to the exercises combined. If this works, and you can just, and by if this works is if you want it to be the exact same color for all of them, and you can just have it behind everything, and then that will put a gray background behind all of your images. But if you want them to be different, then you probably would be better off going inside each one and placing them in. It's up to you. Okay. And let's go to composition. Now you have add to Adobe Media Encoder Queue is what I would recommend unless you really couldn't do it. Like if it wasn't working or if it wasn't installed on your computer, then you could do add to render queue. But Adobe Media Encoder Queue is the better option. So what that's going to do is it's going to open up a new program. I know that might sound daunting because it's a whole new program, but this software is really easy to use. It just takes a moment for it to open. Okay, so once it opens, it'll take a moment, but the composition should show up in here. There we go. And it's going to be called Exercises Combined. H.264 is the codec, and that's the right codec to use. That's the best one. The one I would recommend. Match source, high bitrate, that's good. And then I would rename this, maybe Decor again, Exercises. I would say put your name in it, at least your last name with maybe your first initial, or your first name, first and last name with exercises. Something that makes it easy to identify. If it's something like My Life is Suffering .mp4 or .mov, then it's going to be a little hard to identify. So I would put your name on it. Then we're going to hit save. Now hitting save does not mean it's exported. That just means that you have a place for it to save. In order to export it fully, you have to go over here to this little green triangle. It might look familiar if you ever worked with like a DVD player or a VCR, similar to the play button. So when you hit it, you're going to see it exporting at the bottom. Now sometimes this can take a long time. I don't anticipate it's going to be too heavy because these are all graphics that we made inside of After Effects and kept it pretty simple. But if we were working with a lot of effects, if we had imported graphics from other software, especially if we were working with high resolution files, then this process could be pretty slow. You might also see it move really fast, like some of the animation here is really quick, and that's just because that's how quickly it's rendering. If it's going to take a while, you can walk away from your computer, go have a sandwich, go lay down, go work on something else, study, and give it time to finish loading. When it's finished, the blue bar will complete. It'll make a happy sound. Maybe. Maybe not. And then it will say that it is finished. And then you should be able to find it in your folder, wherever you had saved it to last. And that is, and here it is. And it is a 6.1 megabyte file. That's actually pretty small. And this is a file that you can put online, you can put on your Facebook, you can put it on your blog, you can submit it on Canvas. It's not reliant on After Effects or on any particular raw file. You can use any video, or for the most part, most video playing software to play this. The only thing that you might notice with H.264, it's not going to be that noticeable because the colors in here aren't particularly vibrant, but if you use the H.264 codec, that just sucks a little bit of the color out. So your image is going to be a little bit more desaturated than it would be in your raw After Effects file, but it's not really that noticeable. And it's well worth it because otherwise it still looks pretty good. Very clean, no pixelation. And there you have it. These were our 14 exercises to get you guys used to working in After Effects. Hopefully you feel a little bit more comfortable with placement of your objects and animating the position especially, but also the scale and rotation, and start to feel ready, hopefully, and a little bit more comfortable with the idea of starting to do some creative work in After Effects. Anyway, great job, and I look forward to seeing what you guys have made.